Hello, my name is Michelle Angela Ortiz, and I am a visual artist, community arts educator, and filmmaker based in Philadelphia. I've been doing this work in communities as an artist for 25 years. I am very excited to be a part of this project, which is the New Jersey Monuments to Migration and Labor. This is a project that is a 3-year initiative dedicated to honoring the contributions of immigrants and migrants as laborers that have shaped the state of New Jersey. It's funded by the Mellon Foundation, and it is a collaborative project that has involved many people, artists, scholars, community organizations, and community members from across New Jersey. Part of the monument making process has been a unique process in which we've been able to connect and have conversations with these different community members and really thinking about how these monuments to migration and labor will develop and evolve. And these are some partners and regional leads that have been a part of this process, specifically in North New Jersey. There are going to be monuments that are created in North, Central, and South New Jersey. And so these are also the upcoming and past events that have been held in North New Jersey. And this is the timeline that has been will be shared with you in the slide, as you can see. And you can pause and take a look at it. Where we are right now is towards the end of 2025 and entering into 2026. I'm happy to share that I am the North New Jersey Monument Artist. I have been so it was each artist was selected through a panel. And there was a call out for different artists, and so I obviously myself and the two other artists that were participating, there's 3 artists in total that will be tasked in creating this monument, and so I am the artist that will be focusing specifically on a temporary monument for North New Jersey. I wanted to share really quickly some of my past works, one of them being my mural making. So I'm a muralist, a trained and skilled muralist. And this is one of just a portion of a 30-foot tall mural that I recently created that represents and honors the laborer in the 9th Street Market, which is one of the oldest outdoor markets in Philadelphia. And so the idea was to really represent the worker beyond our labor. And it's very much aligned with this current project that we're working on together for North New Jersey. This is I wanted to show also like how materials are used. So in this case, I was using separately these paper flowers that I worked with mothers that were detained at a immigrant family prison in Pennsylvania, and utilized the act of creating these flowers as a way of advocating for the closure of that prison. These flowers were created both by the mothers that were detained and their children in this prison, and so the flowers then uh, left the confines of the prison to be able to be installed in a larger piece, of which I included and involved and facilitated close to 15 workshops with community members and different people within the city of Philadelphia at the Barnes Foundation. And this was created in 2017, but specifically the piece itself is a 10 by 40-foot piece of 1,600 hand dyed flowers that were assembled to represent the word liberty. And so it was placed at the north gates of City Hall, surrounded by images of liberty and freedom as a way to create awareness around this issue, and to bring the messages of the mothers into this space. This is another piece that I did under my Familias Separadas project, which is a project that was focused on highlighting the stories of families that have been affected by detention and deportation. And this is one particular image of Maria with her daughter that I had hand painted. It's an 18-inch in diameter painting with the words "Eres mi todo," you are my everything, which is one of the uh, many letters, handwritten letters that her husband Jose sent to her while being detained in California. This image was then reproduced on concrete vinyl that demonstrates the piece being reproduced at a large scale. So it's 18 feet in diameter and placed in the center of the courtyard of City Hall in Philadelphia. This piece is a way of bringing visibility and centering Maria's story in our city. And also was placed in a permanent work of art, which is from Edmund Bacon in the city of Philadelphia, which is called the Compass Rose. Here is a detail aerial shot of the actual concrete vinyl installed in the center of this piece. And then this is an image of Maria and her son sitting next to the words of his father, and that gives you a sense of the scale of the work. Another installation that I did was in the Capitol steps of Harrisburg, of which another original painting of Karen and her son Stephen were then reproduced on this large scale in this large scale. So approximately 80 feet in length and about 40 feet in height, and these were installed on the marble steps at the Capitol. So we worked specifically with the preservation committee in running some tests beforehand to make sure that this material was well received into the space, and that it was we were able to install and destall without any damage to the actual surface. And so once we were able to confirm that, then we were able to utilize this concrete vinyl on the Capitol steps, and as a way to kind of again bring the story of Karen and her son into the space where policymakers can make the decision to shut down this immigrant family prison in our state. So, the what I'm very happy to say is that North New Jersey monument site we have selected Paterson, New Jersey, and specifically looking into City Hall as the place where this monument can live. And so, what I'm proposing are some different ideas to the committee. To be discussed to see what are some spaces in which we can engage for this monument that does not just represent Paterson, but specifically a monument to North New Jersey. And so right now we have in these spaces some what's indicated by red are the spaces that we're proposing in terms of possible concrete vinyl could be installed with some type of imagery or patterns. And then also some standing objects, what I'm referring to in the yellow as standing objects. So not necessarily vinyl, but actual objects that are in these spaces. This is an aerial view of City Hall, so you're seeing some pedestals that used to be lampposts that are indicated as possible spaces that we can engage with the standing objects, as well as these open spaces that are on either side of City Hall, and also the entrance of City Hall. And what just to kind of give you a brief overview, the concrete vinyl is also a sidewalk decal that was very popularly used during the pandemic in order to encourage social distancing. Sorry. So how some of that concrete vinyl could be used in the existing spaces of City Hall is possibly bringing some color and light into these spaces. And so utilizing some of the concrete vinyl that could be in the plaques that you see pictured or in the space where the community member is sitting, as a way to kind of engage and utilize the patterns that can be represented of the different um, cultural groups that surround a city hall and are connected to the themes of migration and labor, as well as these yellow boxes, which I've been referring to as these shrines or community shrines, in a way of being able to demonstrate and listen to and see different stories of the community members. Um, Another space that we're thinking about is not just obviously the ground for the concrete vinyl, but how can we utilize some existing structures? For example, the skeleton structure that's used for the Christmas tree structure, and how can that be a way of safeguarding the monuments that are on currently on site, and maybe utilizing a structure to be able to cover and create another type of monument around them. And so by utilizing the structures is just one idea of again, it's not in detail. This is just a concept of just maybe fabric and text and patterns that are representative of these different stories that we've collected, and utilizing that as a way of, in a sense, like a beacon where people are moving around and they're engaging, and that these patterns and phrases are created through the stories that we've already collected, or more workshops and programming that we can do that is connected to these themes. And so thinking of it as how would it look in the evening, right, as a beacon and as a light to illuminate this space. I mentioned a little bit about these empty pedestals of where the lampposts used to be. And so, very similar to the Christmas tree skeleton structure, is creating, as you can see indicated in red, an actual structure that can hover over the pedestal. So, not necessarily installing any monument or these shrines on the actual pedestal, but that we can create a structure that can have it placed and, in a sense, give a floating illusion to this monument over the actual pedestal as a space where people can engage with the artwork. Some of the materials that I mentioned already, like wood and metal, these are others, which is what the shrines can be made out of. These are other spaces that we're looking into. Seeing what are the possibilities of being able to engage in the space, which are indicated here by red in the entrance of City Hall, and as well on the grass area where the existing sculpture is, or possibly covering up the structure, covering up the monument safely, and then utilizing the structure in order to create another monument or story around it. Here's an example. Again, these are just images, stock images that I was able to place in the meantime, but it gives you an idea that these could be painted portraits of different community members, and so we're very much aware of thinking about who is going to be represented, and being very mindful about that. But this is just a filler in so that you're able to kind of have a sense. And so these structures, these box structures, are what we've known as shrines, can be made out of wood, metal. And then this is kind of like a bit of a diagram or breakdown of the painted image can be here in the foreground. There is room for space for some other patterns or images to be placed here and up here on the forefront, but these are kind of like boxes that will be closed on the side, on each side, but this just gives you a diagram. And then some lighting that can be placed behind the image, so in a sense, in the evening it is lit up. Another space that I'm looking at and considering is this kind of landing on both sides of the mark of the excuse me so both sides of City Hall, and so this concept of maybe creating or placing, and not necessarily a prefabricated structure that could be adjusted, right? Painted, adjusted, and the base of it would not be drilled onto the ground or anything, but it would be a platform that would be created on top of that actual space. This is an option in which we could also utilize that for creating some type of a panel that can also be hand painted or have text, or a way that people can engage. As well as if the fabric does not work within the center structure, those fabric pieces could also be installed along the side. And so thinking of it as not just creating a function of shelter for different community members that are either waiting for the bus or they're with their family. But then the fabric is a way where people are able to engage with the multiple stories that have been collected around North New Jersey. So these are just some of the concepts and some of the materials. I will be sharing, obviously, more around specs and anything else related structurally to this work. But I just want to make sure that you were able to see this in advance, and also, we hopefully will be able to have a meeting so that we can discuss some questions that the committee has, and to try to see what the possibilities are within these spaces as we move forward with the development of this temporary monument in honor of North New Jersey. Thank you.